What can we say about the political pulse of the nation here in Canada after this recent election? What can we glean from the election results in a way that helps us make a better statement about where Canada is now sitting on the political map? You know how you describe some countries as more leftward or more rightward, more of a socialist country and so forth. How are we describing Canada now? And I think based on the results of the election and the issues that were discussed, certainly a country that feels like it's trending leftward, although there's a big caveat. We'll discuss that in a moment. First of all, Justin Trudeau being reelected, despite all of the scandals and so forth, a lot of frustration with him, so people still sticking with him. Then you've got the issues that were front and center. Whatever people think about vaccines, and clearly most people are in support of them because the majority of people are vaccinated, vaccine passports, that's a whole different conversation. And yet Canada jumping into that conversation 2 feet first, and really Justin Trudeau relishing it, wanting to turn it into a culture war, into an us versus them, a divisive issue. A lot of people clearly going along with that, clearly okay with that. Climate change. Justin Trudeau loves to go on and on about this as a primary issue, perhaps the primary issue. I've said before that Justin Trudeau isn't so much, the prime minister who wants to focus on climate issues, but he's a climate activist who just happens to also be prime minister at the same time. That's how focused he is on the climate issues there. And yet people not batting an eyelash about this, an issue that not too long ago would be seen as, okay, fine, yeah, we're concerned about the environment, climate, but if you just go on about it as your top issue, well, that's a fringe party thing. That's the Green Party thing, or maybe the NDP thing. Justin Trudeau very much mainstreaming it as pretty much his primary issue. Other ways that there's a bit of a leftward tilt. Not much talk about fiscal responsibility. I mean, that's just totally thrown out the window in terms of should there be deficit spending, how big the deficit should be. Now, obviously, we're facing extraordinary times, and there's a big deficit because of the economy being shut down last year because of the initial lockdowns and the CERB payments and so forth, but no real discussion, not even paying lip service to the idea of we got to get this under control. This is a massive debt burden. I mean, a lot of real socialist talk about how we're going to deal with the nation's finances right now, another leftward direction we're heading in. But maybe that's not correct, because at the same time, Justin Trudeau secured a minority government situation with the lowest percentage of vote historically in the nation for any election. And this is the second election in a row where the Conservatives have actually won the popular vote. Erin O'Toole getting more votes than Justin Trudeau did. But of course, by the riding breakdown, the Conservatives didn't get more seats. So what's going on here? It is a country that in many sense, Canada moving more leftward, but at the same time, more people picking Conservative on the ballot. It's an interesting disconnect. Does it mean we are divided as a nation? I always think that talk about division, I think it's oversold, although Justin Trudeau certainly was the divider in chief. We saw that the last few months. I don't want to think of my country as a divided one, but something's really happening here where it's getting harder to gauge the pulse of the nation in a political sense. And maybe these things are going to transition. They're going to change in interesting ways in the months ahead in this country.